Welcome back to the channel. It's the Bald Bearded Bicyclist. This is the Fireball Crit series. It is week 11 of 12, and it has been a grueling series. Missed basically 2 because of a crash. So this is the standings through week 10. I'm in 4th place, 4 points behind Moose, and I think just 1 point or so in front of Todd. So these are the 2 guys I'm keeping an eye on for this race. And really my goal coming into this one, knowing we've got 2 weeks left, was just to make sure I gain points on both of those guys if possible. So beautiful night. The light is starting to get darker a little earlier. But, we've only got 2 more of these to go, so it'll last through the races, luckily. Things started pretty hot here. You can see how strung out it is, and I was trying to move up a little bit in the beginning and just going to follow wheels and try not to panic. And I see Mike here and Jim, who are, strong wheels, and it looks like they are going to put in some work, so I'm going to follow them. Just note that in the top right corner it says lap 0 of 9, so when it says 8 of 9, that's actually going to be the last lap. So it's technically a lap behind. There are 9 laps, but it is going to starting on 0 for whatever reason. So I'm doing it was pretty big watts just in the wheel there, but Mike brought it back together, and this is just a little bit further up in this lap, and we got Steve is going to take a big attack here on the left, and everyone just kind of lets it go at first, and you can see Larry and Moose kind of want to bring it up. I was right on the wheel there, so I just followed, and I think pretty quickly Larry decided to shut it down, although he's keeping it fast, and maybe was just trying to keep on the front and keep steady power so we could slowly bring it back. And we got Drew attacking over James in the wheel, and just going to let those guys go as well. Again, where my head is at is the guy in front of me and the guy behind me right now, so trying to keep my head on a swivel was very difficult this entire race when you know there's 2 guys that you're really battling with. It's an attack can come from anywhere, so I was trying not to waste energy by letting other things go, but anytime I saw an opportunity to possibly hurt those guys or get away from those guys, that was where my head's at. So Rich attacked on the left here, and again, people just kind of let that go at first, and people are just kind of looking around, seeing if anybody wants to do anything here. And again, we're on the 2nd lap, not the 1st lap here, and Moose is going to go, and I'm just going to jump in that wheel. Tyler follows, and I think Moose pretty quickly decides to shut it down after he realizes I'm there. It took me a second to kind of realize that we had a good gap, and that I should have maybe really attacked him hard right after he shut it down to hurt him a little bit more, but I more brought up the power as if we were still rolling turns, which made it probably a little bit easier for him to get back on. And I knew that at this point he was probably not going to help, so I tried to commit to doing some work with Tyler. And, we take a couple of turns. We're actually kind of bringing Rich back. Unfortunately, I was trying to more get away, not bring Rich back. But you could kind of see that people are bringing it back. I think that might be... What do we got behind Moose? I think that's Todd came with. And there's a bit of a gap still actually behind Todd. And honestly, I'd probably be okay working with all of those guys, even knowing that both Moose and Todd are there, because I've got Rich and Tyler who would help do some work too. So, we're still pulling. They're not crazy pulls, but I think at this point I was still interested a little bit in seeing what would happen. You see it here, my power dropped, so I must have just kind of given up on it. But I think that break really did have an opportunity. You see everyone at this point looking through the turn. I probably looked back and it was all together, but we didn't really get organized. We might have had the opportunity if we really wanted to get away. And then just a little bit of a shuffle here. People are moving around, but quickly getting on the wheel and just shuffling a little bit. This is the third lap. We got Steve on the front, and things are single file. It's just a little bit further up, and I thought Steve was maybe going to do a hard attack on the right here when I saw him come through. And he didn't quite, but I had the opening and saw Drew on the front on the left there, so I figured I might as well attack. You can see in the rear camera, though, Steve is quick to bring up the power, and he pretty much keeps everybody attached here. And when I put in an attack, I give it a pretty good chance before I even take the opportunity to look back and see if anything's happened, which may hurt me, but I don't want to be taking a look back while I'm in the middle of my attack. So it took me a little bit to realize that was all together. And then letting this go until I see Todd here, and that's the signal to make sure I am with that group. So I'm gonna go around Steve and make sure I'm there, but he's strong and he's bringing that group back up to my wheel. So once again, not gonna be in a breakaway. So this is the fourth lap, and we are about 15 minutes in to, it's usually about a 40-minute race. And I think there probably would have been some attacks here, but there were some casual riders on the right there, so I kind of clogged up the right side. And always want to be respectful of people who are just using the road, not flying by them. I'm definitely just trying to keep an eye on Todd. I mean, he keeps kind of popping up out of the saddle. I don't know if he's kind of itching to throw an attack. A couple guys went off the front there, and I think it may have been Tyler, Rich, and Tom possibly, because I see Larry, Drew, and Jim still back here, and I think there was a black jersey there. So they got a little bit of a gap. And then you're going to see Steve, Jim, Todd go, and we've got a bit of a gap, and they slow down, so I decide to attack over this and really bring up the pace to get a gap. At the same time, if you saw in the back camera, Drew was actually attacking, and it's just unfortunately bad timing because he kind of brought that back group up, and he wanted to then help me, but what it really did was just bring everybody together. So we shut it down shortly after, and we got those few guys off the front still. But yeah, that was had a lot of failed attempts. This was a tough race. I mean, from start to finish, it was pretty brutal. A lot of attacks. People were keeping it fast, even in between attacks. I feel like there were a couple guys. I know Larry was just on the front. Steve, who just pulled through. people are just keeping the speed up, which makes for a really dynamic race and keeps it from getting boring, honestly. So we are on the 6th lap now, and looks like they are bringing back these guys that had been off the front for a while. A little bit further up. Got an attack from Richie. You can see Moose in the background here with Jim on his wheel. I was kind of trying to monitor. It's hard. Wouldn't expect an attack on the left there. So I'm going to have to go around these guys. And again, I don't want to let Moose go. Todd's going to follow me and bring the rest of that group. But I thought maybe if I could hurt Moose after he just did an attack, might be beneficial. But again, with Todd on my wheel, kind of helps keep everything together. So that wasn't going to get away. And through this turn, I probably give a little glance and notice that everybody's together here. It's really strung out, but they're all there. So this is the second to last lap. We got Chris and Rich with a nice attack on the right there. A lot of people looking around, seeing who wants to do what. Got Tyler's going to go. And I see Todd going. I'm a little nervous. I didn't quite have a gap there. I kind of let Josh know I was coming on the right. He graciously gave me a little bit of room. But this was not what I wanted to be doing. 500 plus watt little sustained effort there on the second to last lap. But seeing as I'm already putting the effort in, and there's the possibility that Moose was left behind, I'm going to keep it rolling and just see if something can happen. I see Todd's on my wheel, but we are dropping the rest. So at this point, I'm kind of committed. Maybe this is going to be a late break. And, if Todd's willing to do work, he's only 1 point behind me. But I need to gain some points on Moose. So I'm thinking, this could be a good opportunity to get those points on Moose. And the worst possible thing, if the two of us can get away, is that he beats me and gains 1 point and we're tied in the standings. But, maybe I gain all the points I need on Moose. So that's the thought here. And so I'm going to commit. But we are just not keeping it fast enough. And in the rear cam, great move. Moose knows that I just did work. He attacks. At the same time, Drew attacks, which I would have no problem with Drew counterattacking me at that moment to get away. But because Moose wanted to counterattack me, he ended up being able to jump on the back of their attack. And so now I'm like, crap. He just took my main competitor, who was 4 points ahead of me in the standings, with him, and I know that Todd's not going to pull through and help bring that back. So I'm on the front doing 400 after a failed breakaway attempt. So this is really hurting me. And right about here, after my power's fluctuating up and down, I think I just realized, I cannot do this solo. And I pretty much actually resigned to losing to Moose. And shortly after I gave up here, a bunch of guys actually pull through, and I had to do a little bit of an effort to get back on the wheel. And that was kind of a saving grace, because we actually end up bringing Moose back. I think Drew and James and maybe Steve. I think Steve might have gotten away there. So there's a bunch of people off. So this is like, I think there maybe had been a couple other people drop behind us, but there was a group in front that is pretty much away. And now we are on the last lap, remember? So this is not 8 of 9, it's 9 of 9. At this point, I am not letting Moose get behind me. But at the same time, I got to keep an eye on Todd. So I'm kind of playing a game here to see if he's going to want to close this. And if not, which I pretty much assume that he's not, I'm waiting till I can maybe attack and it will hurt him, but I don't want to wait too far that those guys maybe realize that we're dropping off and they attack. What I did poorly was not think about the timing of this right-hand turn. I'm not going to dive bomb these guys and cause a dangerous issue here, so I had to dump a bunch of the speed that I gained, and Moose was able to get back on my wheel. I did gap him, and I just kind of had to give up on that gap. Otherwise, it would have been really great to attack through this group, because I was carrying a lot more speed before that turn, but it is what it is. And now I've just kind of wasted a match, and Moose is on my wheel like I didn't want him to. So now I'm just kind of keeping an eye on these guys, and I'm waiting for something to happen. There's 4 Scicluna guys, and there's me. And my goal going into this was to beat 2 of these guys. My head was kind of swimming with possibilities, and I'm trying to just be quick to react. So I see Todd. I'm going to go with Todd. Moose is there. He's coming with me as well. And, I don't want to do unnecessary work at this point. We are very far. I don't want to do something stupid like attack from here, because I know that Moose isn't on my wheel. And if I did that, I'd pretty much have to commit to it, and I'm bringing him to the line. So I've been looking over my shoulder, trying to react quickly. Moose is going to attack. I'm going to go, and again, I kind of think it's just too early to go. Todd's on my wheel. Looking at the rear cam, maybe he was struggling. Maybe I would have been able to get away, but it's risky, and at this point, I'm hurting too. It's been a hell of a race. My heart rate was just in the 170s, and it's just finally coming down here. So I kind of want to see this play out. And so in the rear cam, you're actually going to see Chris is going to attack hard through. Todd's going to follow, and I'm going to try to snap on the wheel. And you can see he kind of goes, and he sits up. And Mike's kind of just on the front, but he must be wrecked. He's not really sprinting. I let him know I'm coming on the right. I don't want to cause an accident. And I'm just, I had to snap a couple of times. I'm so tired, and I'm just holding it. We were 36 miles per hour, and he's right on my hip. I'm able to hold him off. So it was rough. I was like hyperventilating at the end of this race, but I, was able to beat both of those guys. That was my goal for the race. So hard. They made it difficult but fun. It's amazing racing these guys, and they keep me on my toes. So I was able to beat them, and now coming into the final week, I'm just down 2 points on Moose, and I'm up a couple points on Todd. So it's going to be an interesting last week. So I actually just found out I may not be able to race the last week. I'm kind of hoping that I can, but I've got some family stuff that just came up, so we'll see. Tune in, and we'll hope that I can finish the finale of the Fireball and hopefully grab that podium. All right, thanks a lot.